Welcome back to Sunday Sessions, everybody. I'm so glad to see so many of you out there already in the chat, already engaging. I see someone from Arizona. That is beautiful, man. So glad to have you with us. Please make sure you introduce yourself to somebody in the chat. Make a new friend. Get to know somebody. We're starting a new series today, so it's gonna be a good time. I just want to applaud you all for being here today. Let me go ahead and give you that applause real quick. Man, I'm so glad to have you all here. For those of you who don't know, I'm Darante LaMar, and every week I host these conversations as a touch point for connection, inspiration, and growth. I am on an audacious mission to launch communities everywhere that gather weekly for real conversations just like these, that are free from superstition, free from coercion, and grounded in what actually makes us more human together. I show up every Sunday for three reasons, and I've been sharing this for the past 3 weeks. And it's to host conversations that help heal or hit on what really matters to the community, to create spaces where people can gather, connect, and support each other, but also to spark a fire in those of you who feel the call or what may have you to speak, organize, and lead with intentionality and purpose. My goal is to excite people about the idea of a better way to connect by building community without superstition. And while today's conversation might feel like church at times, let me be clear. There are no appeals to deities, no demands for doctrine, and no request to believe what can't be demonstrated. Actually, there's no request to believe at all. Instead, you'll be encouraged to learn, laugh, and love freely while giving others the grace to do the same. That's the world-changing work we're building here together at Bridge City Global. Now, if this is your first time with us, welcome in. Let us know where you're from. Let us know that you're here so our community can show you some love. All right, so let's kind of jump in this. NYC in the house, loving it. That's home for my wife. All right, so as y'all can tell, we got a change of scenery today. I decided to put the green screen. It's that side. So to put the green screen to that side, and so y'all just see my natural work environment. This is where I work. I started in the garage. Lucky me, right? So today I'm launching a new series called Homecoming. And really just because homecoming is that kind of season, kids are going back to school, you're going to have the homecoming dances and stuff. But then also in this same season, of course, in Southern California, we have the actual real possibility right now of building what could become a home for so many. And so this is kind of like a home building moment for us. And so I thought this would be a great way and a great opportunity to reintroduce us as a community to the vision, right? Thank you so much, Muttley, for the support. Feel free to support us with Super Chat, peeps. I love you, sir. Thank you. All right, so we're going to spend the next few weeks unpacking the purpose and mission of Bridge City Global while also championing the necessity of human connection for human progress. I put the outline together for this series last weekend, so I can tell you in advance that next weekend's conversation will be, did you get my message? And that one, we're going to be dealing with clarity and confirmation over certainty and stagnation. The week after that will be, there's a method to the madness. Sometimes people look at the Bridge City Global model and they say, this looks strange to me. It looks unfamiliar, foreign. I don't know how this works. And when they're bold enough to actually say it out loud, to ask that question out loud, I respond with, how many churches have you planted? How many mega churches were you on staff at? How many service centers and thrift stores did you manage and operate? And when they draw a blank, when that face just gets cold, I say, now ask me the same questions. See, it's foreign for you because it's not your expertise. Don't play me like that. Check my resume. So the week after that will be building better bridges, right? Where I'm hoping to be able to feature some of our members and core team leads for the Bridge City Cal community so that they can share their experiences and how they've been building along the way. So you know where we're going to be every week in this conversation. So go ahead and mark the conversations that you don't want to miss. So I got all my outlines done last weekend because fall and winter are ramp season for me. When the fall and winter hit, I have to put more on the channel, right? Spring and summer. When spring and summer hits, I tend to drop my content load to focus on vision. So instead of doing 4 to 5 videos, I'm only doing 2 videos during the week and still doing the Sunday sessions. But as soon as the fall hits, I have to ramp back up to 4 to 5 videos a week. So I get up yesterday to build my half a page outline into a full conversation talk. And I mean, I hit the ground running. I had 4 pages done before I knew it and was really loving the direction that the conversation was going in. And then for whatever reason, I had this creative spike and it just I came up with a new novel idea called Insanity. Don't ask me about it because I'd be tempted to tell you about it. But I spent like I got the entire plot structure, character arcs done, and I think I spent about a whole hour pulling it all together. That's how I knew it was going to be good, right? And so then I get back to my notes and I'm still full of this really good energy, good creative, productive energy. And I say, you know what? This is the perfect time to catch up on some emails and messages. And you know what? Why the hell did I do that? Why did I do that? My entire day crashed after that. Oh my goodness. I had DMs, voicemails, emails. I've been very vocal that I am stretched to the limits, that my bandwidth disappeared 50,000 subscribers ago. And yesterday, it's like every message in my inbox was designed to touch that sore spot. Either I'm doing it wrong, what I'm doing doesn't make sense, I'm not doing enough. And many times I want to say, like, as compared to who? I was just starting to feel that we were getting to that place where I could finally start breathing again. I haven't seen a weekend in over a year, let alone a vacation. I wake up at 6 every morning and go straight to my office. I'm there until 3 when I go pick up my son from school. And I come right back to this office and I'm here till dinner time. Now, I've marked dinner as sacred so I can have daily interaction with my family. But what do you think I do right after dinner? I head right back to this office and I am literally here until I'm too tired to work. And it's not enough. I get it. It's not enough. That's why I do it. That's why I keep doing it. That's why I get up every day and go to work. That's why when I should be having a weekend, I work, because it's a lot of work and one person is not enough to get it done. But I'm going to get up and do it anyway. I'm going to edit the videos. I'm going to produce the videos. I'm going to write the scripts and I'm not going to skip out. I'm not complaining. I'm saying what it is. It's a lot of work. It's a lot of work. So I spent the majority of yesterday just wrestling with how I felt, wrestling with the confusion, wrestling with the anger, the hurt, the resentment, and then the understanding, right? Because you walk through it. The confusion, for me, the confusion is like, wow, how can we not see how much that I'm actually doing and think, oh, let's give him more stuff to do. The anger is like, how dare you try to give me more stuff to do? The hurt, you really trying to give me more stuff to do? The resentment, the audacity of you trying to give me something to do. And then the understanding. I get it. And so after I allowed myself to kind of process through that cycle of what I'll call emotional recoil, and it was some hours. I was sitting in my other chair and I had to lean back, man. I had my little rag, almost fell right there. I had my little rag and I'm on my face. I'm like, oh man. If you would have walked in, you would have like, man, you just look devastated. Because I was temporarily devastated because it wasn't just one message. It was coming from everywhere yesterday. And some of them were like messages that I hadn't touched in a while. And so that I hadn't seen in a while. So I was just like, oh man. But after I allowed myself to process it, and that's what I do. Like if I can give you anything out of that moment, what I allow myself to do is to feel my feels. I'm gonna feel my feels. That's kind of what the novel that I was working on is called, Insanity. Oh man. I can't wait to tell you all about it. Okay, so anyway, but after I allowed myself to process it, and it was some hours thinking through it, wrestling with it, watch this, asking myself, D, how much of this are you over exaggerating because it's a sore spot? Now, how many of you ever do that? How many of you are aware of your sore spots? And so, like, this is something, oh man, this is something that I used to tell my kids is that your feelings tell you more about you than they tell you about anybody else. And a lot of times your feelings will misinterpret. Damn, I'm already in today's stuff. And this is the intro. But a lot of times your feelings will misinterpret what somebody else is trying to say to you, or what someone else is trying to do to you, or what someone else's intention is. So I had to wrestle with. That's how I get to the understanding part. Okay, so now are these people like attacking you? Is that what's really going on? Or did they just get close to a sore spot and you don't know how to feel about it? You know what I'm saying? See, oh man, y'all ain't ready for that. Y'all aren't ready for that type of depth. And so it took me some hours to kind of process through that. And eventually I got back into a productive state. But I knew that once I got back into that productive state, that I needed to work on something that was not immediately work related. And I couldn't do that. So I decided to work on a few of my novels. But before I did, I needed to go back to my notes and highlight where I left off and leave myself a note to kind of kickstart what I was thinking at that moment, so I won't have to start cold when I get back to them. But when I got back to my notes, my conversational directive was still at the top. Now, the directive is what I include in my outlines that reminds me what I want to do with the conversation, even before I start building it out, right? And so the conversational directive that I created last weekend for today's conversation, and are y'all ready for this? Are y'all ready for this? Come on now. My homie from Kenya, are y'all ready for this? Watch this. My conversational directive was highlight how bad connections cultivate misunderstanding, miscommunication, and even misinformation about other people, and how better ways to connect are needed to build experiences that are progressive thinking, people-centric, and life-affirming. Y'all, if I was still a Christian, I would have said that was God. If I was still a Christian, I would have said, now look at that, look at how he worked that thing out. But that's just the beauty of communication itself. Last week, I set out the outline for this conversation, and I gave myself a conversational directive, which means, Darante, when you come back to put these notes together, this is the way you want to build this thing out. This is what you want to focus on. So what you're going to do next week, Darante, this is what I told myself last week. I said, Darante, next week, not knowing what my Saturday will look like, right? I said, Darante, next week, you're going to highlight how bad connections cultivate misunderstanding, miscommunication, and even misinformation about other people, and how better ways to connect are needed to build experiences that are progressive thinking, people-centric, and life-affirming. And that brings us to the title of today's conversation. I think we're having a bad connection. Now, if you enjoy these conversations, if you enjoy conversations like these, will you go ahead and drop that in the chat? You know, emojify it or whatever you need to do to it, but just put it in the chat. I think we're having a bad connection. I don't even know how you emojify that, but if you can do it, if you can make it happen, I'd love to see it. Hell, you could even songify it if you want to. I think if we go back to the 90s and Escape was here, they would say it this way. What I need from you is understand. I know it's pitchy and all, but you know what I mean. You know what I mean. Miscommunication happens frequently and is a common part of human interaction, with surveys showing over 80% of employees reporting it occurring at work. Now, it can happen due to unclear language, differing interpretations, distractions, cultural differences, or the subjective filters people use to interpret messages. The frequency of miscommunication makes it essential to be aware of its potential and practice careful, clear, and open communication to minimize misunderstandings. Miscommunication happens a lot more often than most people realize. Studies across fields like business, healthcare, and relationships show that 20 to 30% of all exchanges contain some form of miscommunication, whether that's misunderstanding words, tone, intent, or context. That's a lot of misunderstanding. A few insights here. In workplace research, it suggests that employees spend about 2 to 3 hours per week dealing with miscommunication and the fallout that it causes. Some of the fallout from it could be missed deadlines, repeated work, and even conflict. In healthcare, miscommunication is one of the top causes of medical errors, with some studies attributing up to 70% of serious adverse events to breakdowns in communication. In personal relationships, therapists often highlight miscommunication as the most common source of conflict, not necessarily disagreement, but misunderstanding. everyday conversations, we see the same thing. Psychologists point out that humans are constantly filling in the blanks based on assumptions, which means even simple conversations have a high chance of being partially misunderstood. In short, miscommunication isn't rare, it's the norm. The real question is usually how well do we catch it and repair it before it grows into something bigger. Now, while today's conversation will not be about communication, it will be about connection. Connection and communication are vitally dependent on each other. We can't communicate if we can't connect, and we can't connect if we can't communicate. It's a very interesting loop there. But Bridge City's purpose of existence is to be a better way to connect, to help people find better ways to connect. And I imagine that in three arenas: a better way to connect to themselves, which is awareness, being aware of who I am, what I love, what I don't like, what's good to me, what's bad to me, awareness of who I am, my good self, my great self, my kind self, my mean self, my nice self, my naughty self, my downright nasty self, and now and then. Better ways to connect to ourselves, being aware of who I am. How do I communicate? How do I project onto other folk? What do I shield from other folk? Just getting that awareness about yourself. I'm not saying you got to get an awareness so that and you got to wear your identity on your sleeve or anything like that. But I am saying just for helping people get a better way to connect to themselves and just feeling comfortable with who they are, where they are, why they are, for what reason they are, understanding that they are evolving, they're on a journey, they're growing. But not only excuse me, but not only do we want to help people get a better way to connect to themselves, but also a better way to connect to others, which is consideration, which is one of the hardest things it seems to get people to do. Like, just can you consider that somebody else might not have meant what you thought they meant? Is it all possible that you're not a psychic? Is it all possible that you could be just as biased as anybody else? And those security measures should exist in the way that you communicate people. And if you're not willing to do that, then you're really not trying to be a better way to connect to other folk. No, it's consideration. Man, this is so good. It's consideration for other folk. Alan Stone has a great song called Consider Me. It's dope. Go check it out. Alan paid me for that mention. But anyway, it's, are you willing to consider other folks, and how deep can your consideration go? Drew Hill and them had a song. I guess I'm feeling musical today. Drew Hill and them had a song years ago. How deep is your love for me? Tell me what it's going to be. Do you see yourself? Oh, okay. I'll stop the lyrics right there. But no, how deep can your consideration go for other folk? Where does that line go? We want to help people get a better way to connect to themselves, a better way to connect to others. And then that third one is a better way to connect to the world around them. And that's engagement. That's intentional. That's intentional engagement. Why be in this great moment, in this great world, right? This great planet, this great place of splendor, of awe, of experience, and not intentionally enjoy it, or make the mistake that I did, spending nearly the first quarter of my life. I don't know how long I'm gonna live, but we're gonna say the first quarter of my life, living the first quarter of my life absolutely terrified of the world, the world that I lived in. You know, absolutely like immobilized from trying new things, scared of risk. And it's very weird because for me at least, I don't want to speak for everybody, I went through a period as a child that I loved being out in the woods, and I loved adventure and seeking stuff. And then the older I got, and even definitely the more saved I got, it's like, oh, that's danger. Everywhere is just danger, and it's funny how that kind of Oh, it's funny how that kind of evolved into not just danger of the natural world or danger of the unknown in the woods. And so you get to the point, I don't want to go in the woods no more. No. What I'm doing out there. You know what I'm saying? But you also get to the point where it's like, dang, you don't want to get in the woods of life either. Like you don't want to actually get in the ring and wrestle with things in life either. Like now you afraid to do almost everything. Everything scares you. And I'm like, nah, man, I want to do a better job of connecting to the world than I do now. Look, I can give you a very real moment for me. I think this was, my wife may have to correct me in the chat, but this may have been 2021, 2022. And I know 2017, I made a strong pivot in how I was approaching my career and how I was approaching my work. And we just did an amazing climb. I actually wrote a book out of that, Making the Jump. And I was getting ready to publish the book, Making the Jump. And then this happened. All of this stuff happened. Where we are now happened. So I said, okay, I'm gonna hold that because we just made another jump, a jump that I wasn't expecting. So I have more to add to that book. So now I don't want to finish that book until I get there. But 2017, I make this pivot, start working on my career more, start being more focused on what I wanted to do in the world without permission. That's why I'm so bold, unapologetic, and unashamed at the way that I come today, because no, I spent 10 years working on me. I don't need your permission to be me. You be you. I'm gonna be me. You see? But so damn, this is good. So I realized, like, okay, I think it was 2021, 2022. I was sitting in my room, sitting on the couch, and I said, you know what? I think I just caught something that I do that is probably a major flaw for me. My wife was like, "What?" I was like, "I think I keep responding." Now watch. I'm not saying you got to do this. I'm getting naked for you, showing you how I really think. And this shit is very it's comfortable for me, but it's risky for me because then people judge you by your nakedness while you sitting up there fully clothed. Shut your mouth. So I'm getting naked. I was sitting and I said, you know what? My problem is, my problem is I keep treating the world as I think it should be. I keep responding to the world as I think it should be. I make this problem over and over and over again. I said it's 2021. I said I've got to really get comfortable with seeing the world as it is. Oh my goodness. I said, no, I've got to get comfortable with seeing the world as it is. I am destroying myself trying to treat the world like it works in this magical way. Like he got the whole world in his hand. Like what goes around is gonna come around and all that stuff. Like, no, bro, you got to pay attention. Oh God, that's so good, man. Look. So a major part of a better of helping people have a better way to connect to the world is helping them see the realities of the world. And I mean, the realities of the world are wild, right? The realities of the world are chaotic and complex. And those are words that they used to automatically mean evil to me. Now they just mean indifferent. These words used to mean evil to me. Like if it's chaos, it's the devil. It's wickedness. It's sin. If it's complexity, the devil done got in that thing. It shouldn't be that complicated now. And now, oh my goodness, I kind of thrive off of a little bit of chaos and complexity. I should have had the Game of Thrones clip cued. Chaos is a ladder. You know, it's that type of thing. Like because now I'm no longer. Oh damn! Thank you, Neil deGrasse Tyson. The universe is under no obligation to make any sense to me. So I am no longer expecting life. Y'all, this is better than y'all responding. I am no longer expecting life to bend to my whims, expectations, and my indoctrination. God damn it, that's good. So many people are living life expecting life to bend to your indoctrination, to your magical thinking, to your superstition. I'm sorry if I keep looking down. I like looking at myself. I'm down here and I'm like, damn, you look good, bro. And I know I do, but so no, I gotta learn how to engage the world. That's like, damn it. I gotta make a Matrix reference. It's like Neo when he's first coming out of the Matrix. And this is something that a lot of us are feeling right now. It's like Neo when he's first coming out of the Matrix, which is great portrait of the allegory of the cave, but it's coming out the Matrix. Man, my eyes hurt. Oh, because for the first time, you're actually using your eyes. Yeah, for the first time, you're actually using your eyes to see, not what somebody else wants you to see. For the first time, you're actually looking. For the first time, you're actually paying attention. And what you're learning is that living requires a little hard work. See, you like the easy seeing. You like the easy seeing where you don't have to see with your eyes, but you can just be like mind blasting that shit and just be knowing it in advance. You're like, no, actually knowing, actually seeing, actually understanding requires some work. Oh man, this is so good. Oh my goodness. Thank you for the super chat, Chip. Man, there's no way I can type out fast enough to keep up with you, Darante, but you hitting me so hard right now. I'm finally about to start acting on some of this dough. That is so wonderful, man. Like, I love it. I love it. So I realized, like, no, we need to help people be able to connect to the world better, to see the reality of the chaos and the complexity. Yes, it's chaotic, it's complex, it is. But do you know what? Do you know we have, and I may get this wrong. I'm a sociologist, not a whatever does this part. But for at least 200,000 years, we have a 200,000 year history demonstrating our capacity to adapt, to adjust, to advance. And for the past 2,000 years, we've allowed ourselves to strip ourselves of that understanding and the implications of that. To have such a, like, to me, oh man, the moment, like, I don't want to get into evolution, but like the moment I kind of had an understanding of that, again, I interpret everything through a sociological lens. I don't actually care about the hard science like that. It's beautiful. When I say I don't care about it, I don't mean like it's not important. I mean it's not important enough for me to go to school for it for 12 years. No, I chose sociology. I chose social science with a concentration in leadership and a business administration minor. But so I tend to interpret everything through a sociological lens. And so when I see that, I say, ooh, oh man, that means every living thing is a part of an unbroken chain of fucking survivors. Like, man, everything, in order for you to get here, everything had to last long enough to get you here. Like, oh my goodness, we come from, like, oh, it's amazing. And okay, and we don't allow ourselves to live in that history. We don't allow ourselves to reckon with that capacity that we are capable. Is it complex out here? Yes. Are we capable? Yes. Maybe we can't do it by ourselves, but we can damn sure squad up. Oh my goodness. Okay, let me get back into this. So the question is then, why is this so important? Why did I hone in on this purpose as the central reason of our organizational existence? Why did I say being a better way to connect? That's the thing. It's because I think that bad connections are the leading cause of bad decisions for ourselves and our relationships personally and professionally. I know it personally and professionally because for nearly 20 years, I let it rob me of who I really was and who I could really be in this world. When you're operating with a bad connection with yourself, others, and or the world, the majority of your connections will be clouded with confusion. But when you have a bad connection with the information, you'll misdiagnose the measurement. I love religious culture because even as beautiful as it could be, and man, there were some beautiful moments in church for me. My church was as close to healthy as a healthy church could be. But the believers are the believers, I even tried to do hybrid church, right? I was like, I'm not going to tell them I'm an atheist. I'm just going to preach kind of atheist stuff. And they was loving it, but they were still just keeping it in superstition. So as much as I love the church, I had to leave the culture because it encouraged too many bad connections to ever really be healthy. Like, it encouraged belief without evidence. It encouraged action without reason. It encouraged certainty without comprehension. But don't get it twisted. It isn't just religion like this. All cults are disruptors of human connection. That's why I'm talking about it. Often exaggerating our differences to prey on our hopes and our fears. Cults always seem to have an unquestionable hero or victim and an irredeemable enemy. Cultish ideologies breed in-group, out-group identification under the guise of protection. That's why a major goal of mine with Bridge City is to cultivate a culture that people get used to prioritizing the value of real-time human connection. Oh yeah, like I got to show you this. I got to show you this. Okay, I'm still my tech guy too, right? So I got to go in here and do this, but I'm going to show you this because this is so important. Look at these pictures. I want you to look at that. Okay, do you see that? See, before I move on, I woke up to some of the most beautiful pictures of some of our folks meeting together in Southern California for the very first time. And to me, that's the whole point, y'all. That's the whole point. This is where things start happening. This is where relationships start forming. This is where ideas find support. There's so much value in real-time connection, but we have to get comfortable in valuing the connection for the sake of the connection. Oh man, like we have to get comfortable valuing the connection for the sake of the connection. Thank you so much, Wilson. I appreciate you, man. My brother from Kenya. Oh, I love it. We're growing, y'all. Did y'all not know we're global? We got to get some more folks in Kenya. I got to take a look at the map and see how many people we have in Kenya. That is beautiful. That is beautiful. But did y'all see that? That's our group in Southern California that didn't exist 3 months ago, man. Somebody trusted the process just to do the simple things, right? And I think that scares people sometimes because it's really simple. The plan is really simple. Trust me, I tried to give people the complicated version. They won't read it. Nobody's going to read the complicated version. It's still there. But I've been simplifying this thing down as much as I could. And so someone did the simple thing, okay? The simple thing was fill out the form. Filled out the form. When you fill out the form, you get an email from me and it says, "Hey, why do you want to do this?" And then you respond and he's like, "I want to do this for this reason." And I'm like, "Great." And if you said you wanted to be a host, then you do the things that it says to be a host. You create space, you start inviting people, you know? You say, "I'm not ready to like be leading people like that though." Then you get people in a local group. That's what this group did. Get them in a local group, a WhatsApp group or Discord group or whatever, something that works for everybody. It could be a Facebook group, but you get them in a local group where y'all can all talk, get to know each other because the connection is the value, you know? Oh man, it's literally about getting people together and learning the stories and possibilities that exist within the room. I've been going back and forth with Robert and Ashley in Southern California about a working metaphor to use to describe what Bridge City and in many ways what DLDD World Group is and how we'll operate. Let me get my screen back right here. Because building a community is much different than building a business, and its operational needs are not always as intuitive as other entrepreneurial endeavors. So forgive me for phrasing it this way, but the product is different. There's no shelf, there's no set price. That makes for a very frustrating menu. So what is the product of the community? And see, then communities are also very different from missions. They're also very different from causes. See, missions are, for missions, the product is the cause. So you're not really interested in the individual people, you're just interested in the cause. For a company, the product is, well, the product, whatever it is you're selling. You're not as interested in the people. I mean, you want the product to help the people. Hopefully, you want the product to help the people. I hope you don't want the product to hurt the people. I mean, I hear that happens, but hopefully you want the product to help the people. But ultimately, it's the product. You're improving the product. But for community, the product is the connection. The product isn't even the people. The product is the connection. There's no utility in having numbers that are not connected for community. Now, for content creation, oh, that's fine. For social media influencer, that's fine. But for community, it's the connections, it's the experience, the exploration, and the expected elevation of the quality of life for all of those connected. When you're connected to community, and this is why I love something that Robert asked one time in the earlier meetings that the SoCal What's group was having. I get the notes. And one of the questions he asked was, "Hey, what do you want to get out of this? And don't be afraid to be selfish." Right? What do you want to get out of this? And don't be afraid to be selfish. And I was like, that is the perfect question. That is a question of community. Because at the end of the day, you're expecting to get something out of community that benefits your life in a tangible, sustainable, long-term way, that's why the product is different. That's why the product is the connection. The community is only as strong as the connections that it can build. Oh man. Oh, I'm gonna get y'all passionate about talking to each other after a while. after a while, y'all ain't gonna want me to be in the room because you're gonna want to talk to each other. I'm just one person, but it's like 60,000 of us. We need to be talking to all 60,000. All right. In that sense, you could say that the product of community is meaningful connection. So as I'm visualizing what onboarding our core leaders could look like across different cities, I was looking for a metaphor, and I found one expansive enough to work, So Bridge City local campuses will operate like ships. Okay, not chips with your greedy self. Not chips, ships. Okay, I know some people may pronounce it that way somewhere, but ships will operate like ships. Because if you think about it, human connection is dependent on a lot of ships, right? Memberships, leaderships, relationships, partnerships, mentorships, hell, even some situationships. Anybody ever slipped up into some situationships? I'll holler. All right. So let me make this connect so we can move on. So a Bridge City local campus will need 3 offices to be operationally effective. There's 3 offices that a Bridge City campus will need to be operationally effective. It needs the Office of Community Development. It needs the Office of Campus Operations and the Office of Society. And we're using this metaphor to help the leaders and the teams of those offices to truly understand that we have a mission that moves. So when I penned our purpose statement as a better way to connect, I locked our mission as a community into a perpetual movement, okay, not a stop sign. So having leaders and team members see us as a ship, they immediately understand that Bridge City is not a castle, it's a vessel. Our mission isn't a monument, it's a movement. We aren't here to arrive. We're here to explore, to build, to grow, and to evolve. Doctrines put a cap. This is one of the reasons I don't like doctrines and dogma, because they create knowledge traps, knowledge caps, and knowledge gaps. So my desire is that our communities operate like ships. If your community is going to be a spaceship, you know what I'm saying? Like that's kind of the branding I'm using for what we're doing in SoCal. Not that it's necessarily going to be a spaceship, but the weekend that we're having in October is liftoff weekend. And so for everybody who wants to be a part of the local community, hey, tap in so you can be a part of liftoff weekend. And then we're also having a special event that's ticketed. Check it out. The registration link is in the description. All right. So, but if you're going to build your campus like a spaceship, you say, okay, we imagine that our campus as a team, it kind of looks like it kind of feels like we want it to be like a spaceship. All right. Then those offices are going to look very similar. Community development then operates like flight control. Where are we going? Navigation. Campus operations operates like engineering, making sure that we can be out here flying. And campus activity operates like medical, making sure that the people are healthy enough to engage the experience. If you're going to imagine your campus as a cruise ship, then the Office of Community Development is the deck. Campus operations is the engine. Campus activity is hospitality and activity. Or maybe you're a Trekkie and you see your campus as the Starship Enterprise, which sometimes I kind of go there. Then command and operations is community, and you got science and medical is campus activity. Or maybe you've taken the red pill and your team sees the campus as the Nebuchadnezzar. Then you got Morpheus, Tank, and Trinity. That's how I see the work we're doing as a community. As we get our ship together, we're out here cruising, looking to rescue as many people from the simulation and achieve freedom for humanity. Oh man, the Jefferson Starship. Oh, okay. Like that has to go in my notes now. The Jefferson Starship has to go in my notes now. The simulation in the Matrix is a disruption of how people connect with themselves, others, and even the world they live in. It perpetuates bad connections as the only real connections while robbing you of freedom. And I want to show you what this looks like, right? Because bad connection transforms our perception by disrupting our live feed, or to hear it better, our lived feed with agenda-based feeds. Okay. So it transforms our perception by disrupting our lived feed with agenda-based feeds that result in us paying more attention to those agendas than our actual lived experience. And the most devastating part is because you neglected your own well being while feeding the agenda, it gets stronger, you get weaker. So the thing that you feel you care about, you never actually get in a position to do anything about. It just continues to drain you of your strength. And that's the trick of the simulation. As long as your relationships with others are being disrupted, oh man, then you and others are being robbed of the support, strength, and strategic leverage necessary to make positive impact. Religion is often proliferated with agenda-based feeds. Politics is often proliferated with agenda-based feeds. And social media has become a landfill of agenda proliferation. So much so that I've noticed a trend on Facebook where people have increasing friendships, but decreasing connections. Facebook friendships are often a better reflection of how many people you share an agenda with, not how many people you're actually connected with. Tell the truth and shame the devil. And it further supports the illusion of connection where genuine connection has been disrupted. Mimetic friendships are becoming increasingly common where friendships are determined by meme responses. If we like the same meme, we're friends. If we don't, we're not. And so again, the relationships is defined by the agenda, not by any connection with the individual. You didn't learn about the individual, you got caught up in the bandwagon. This is what I mean when I say bad connections. It's not that we're connecting with bad people. It's that in many cases, we're not connecting with people at all while thinking that we are. Human connection is the most necessary catalyst for human progress. And that is the product of community. It's not what we claim, it's how we connect. Damn it, I got to say that again. It's not what we claim, it's how we connect. Everybody has a claim that seems to always keep getting in the way of the connection. For a thought experiment, think about your life on a spectrum of your happiest and proudest moments and your lowest and most hurtful moments. And then consider just how much those moments are impacted by either the presence or the absence of human connection. Bridge City Global is one big social experiment in cracking the code of human connection. Because I think if we fix this problem, if we clear out the disruption, create space that's free from agenda-based views, we might finally get a better understanding of what we're really saying, who we're really living with. We might get a better view of what we're really feeling. We may finally learn not only how to cooperate, not only how to collaborate, but maybe even how to celebrate all of humanity across the globe. Now, wouldn't that be nice? I got to give me some water. Across the globe. But that doesn't happen until we clear the bad connections. The number one question I get, and I think the answer I give is so simple that people think I'm gatekeeping some type of secret. The question is, how do I create community where I live? The answer is provide space for people to connect and invite them. That's literally where it starts, right? Like, man, and as it grows, you just scale that, right? So again, I'll use SoCal as an example. Create a space for people to connect. All right. Robert knew, yeah, I'll make my house available. But he also knew there's a lot of strangers in Southern California is big. I got to be in 2 different cities. Southern California is huge. So he said, I'll create a WhatsApp group. All right. That's creating a space. And then what's next? Invite everybody. Him as the host, he's going to call everybody who's in that area and invite them to connect. And guess what? Many of them did. So you created a space and then you invited them. And then a few, maybe like 2 weeks later, they started having weekly virtual meetings, just talking. And look, everybody that shows up, none of them know what they should be talking about. I mean, other than Bridge City and maybe BC 101, you know. But You figure it out. And I think that's what some people are afraid to do. They're afraid of the figuring part. You know, and I'm like, no, it's the figuring is where you keep your autonomy. The figuring is where you keep your authenticity. The figuring is where you keep your agency. You know, and I think that's a lot of times what people want from me. They want me to figure out all the hard parts for them. They're like, then you're never going to be really effective in what you're doing, nor are you ever going to feel like it's what you're doing. Man, this is good. This is good. So create a space and invite them. That's literally where it starts. The connections define the experience. The connections determine what's possible. The connections determine the direction, right? Investigate, interrogate. There's another word I'm looking for. These words sound so like invasive, but you know, damn it, what's the word when we're going through inventory? But explore the inventory. You know, you say there are things that your community will not be able to be in month one. There are things that your community will not be able to provide in week one. Why? Because it's not in the room. So I could tell you, yes, what your community should have is a full band. Your community should have a full team of singers. Your community should have a full team of people who are dedicated to work with children so that families don't have to feel like, oh, dang, can I be here or not? No. It's like, no, we have a place for your kids if you want them to hang out. And there's some exciting activity. You're going to need people to do that. You're going to need somebody to be responsible for the money and stewardship and all of that stuff. You're going to need somebody to manage the teams and make sure that there's no HR violations. But if there's just 13 of y'all, okay, that's not in the room yet, you know? So I can give the framework, I can give the blueprint. That's not going to help you have the community until you actually have people to talk to. You know? Oh, this is good. This is good. I can't fast track that part for you. There is no substitute for community. Community requires connections in the room. There's no substitution for that. That's why, like, when y'all saw those pictures, didn't that feel amazing? Of seeing them together, these people who are all virtually strangers, you know, and have found some type of connection between seeing content on this channel, you know, and then deciding, like, not only do I like the content, not only do I like the fact that this bro goes hard, like on Christianity and on religion and on superstition, but he does it in a way that always leans back to empowering and uplifting and freeing and liberating other people. And then he has these Sunday sessions where this dude is preaching like a madman, but it's not preaching, but it is preaching, and it'd be good because then I'd be wanting to say hallelujah, but I can't say hallelujah, so now I got to find something else to say, like jalapeno. I don't know, that works, but you know, you do whatever you do, and you're like, and for whatever reason, they say, I want to be a part of that. I want to connect that. I give out the call every week. If you want to build something like this, where there's conversations like this happening in your community, tap in. And people started tapping in. Oh my goodness. So literally, watch this. What I'm asking everybody else to do who signs in to tap in is the same thing that I did. I created a space, YouTube. I mean, I didn't create YouTube. That's giving myself a little too much credit. But I created a space on YouTube, Darante LaMar, and I started creating content. The space itself, the content itself became the space. And then I started inviting people, right? My biggest challenge with SoCal, Southern California broke it. Because this was my biggest challenge. And Southern California has gotten past that leap. I want to see how much further they're going to go. But my biggest challenge was getting people to see the value of talking to each other. There's no way we know what's in the room until the conversations you're having with each other increase. Oh my goodness, this is good. So it's the connections that determine the possibilities. It's the connection that determines the direction. It's the correction. It's the connections that determines where you are. And then that's the information. Like if you're building a local campus and you say, like, you know, I think I'm going to be I think I want to have a development role. Then in a development role, that's what you're always focusing on is increasing those engagement points, those interaction points, so that your team can give you that data. What are our connections telling us about our community? Where does our community want to go? What do they want to do next? And that should be quarterly. It should be yearly. Like every year, what do we want to do this year with our existence? Where do we want to explore? What do we want to navigate to? How do we want to make an impact? How do we want to uplift our community? Because that's the goal. The goal is not just to be there locally, but it's to make those local impacts. And like when people ask me like, what's possible with community? I'm like, damn it, anything. Everything that exists is a product of community. If you think about it that way, let me help you. Everything that exists is a product of community. You know? So what can you do with your community? Whatever the fuck you want to. Like, why would you want somebody to put a limitation on that? You know, it's like sometimes I feel like we're trying to be churches. Like we're trying to go backwards. Like, we don't want to make it where we can just do anything now. Why would we not want to make it like we couldn't just do anything? No, we can just do anything. You know, I mean, whatever we think is going to be helpful, whatever we think is whatever's going to reflect what our community is wanting. You know what I'm saying? Man, we want a bowling alley. Okay, do that. And so we're like, oh, that's so weird for a community to do. Church is doing it. My mentor did it. I loved it. Well, it wasn't a bowling alley. It was a skating ring or ice hockey ring. I think it was skating ring and a soccer field and a restaurant. Why? Because that's the power of community and a K through 12 school. Why? Because that's the power of community. You know, some of them have built music programs that perform now, like travel, like on the road, like monthly. Well, because community, you know, just have a little monthly bake off because a lot of people in your community like cookies. Do it. Like the possibilities are defined by the connections, by what's in the room. And that's why community is so counterintuitive, because most people want to have the plan in advance. And at that moment, the only way to do that is to try to force people to fit into a mold before they get there. But as y'all have heard me seed into these conversations every chance I get, that the identity of a community changes every time a new person joins it. The possibilities of a community changes every time a new person connects with it. So let's say you got your first 13 people there, and you know that one day, man, we're going to want some music, and we're going to want it to be good, and we're going to want it to be attractive and compelling. And like with these 13 people, the odds of all 13 of us just being like stellar singers and musicians, not very high. Not very high. Trust me, I know. It's not very high. But maybe about 20 people. Does anybody here play the keyboard? Actually, I love to play the keyboard. I'm not as great as somebody. That's okay. Ain't a lot of us. We don't need the best of the best. We don't need, Robert Glasper right now, So I mean, if you can work a little bit, anybody sing a little bit? I sing a little bit. All right. Does Bridge City have anything like, sir? Yeah, I got a little something. Yeah, actually, I do have a whole folder of suggested songs and stuff like that, But so it's like some people get discouraged because it's not there on day one. And it's like, no. I think if you get in meetings with me, you'll always hear me say stuff like, what's possible? Like, I want to know. Like, I'm hoping, I want to see what we can do. Now, I'm gonna give it my all, whether it's 5 or 5,000. I want to know what's in the room and what's possible, because I'm obsessed with that. Like, even when I was a child, I'd get bored in church and just lay my head back and count the tiles and stuff, and then try to count them in different ways and see if I'll come. I like the variables. So thank you. All right, let's go. Okay, so and I get it. It feels so counterintuitive, right? Because again, everything else you start with the strategy first. For communities are mission based. They're purpose based, right? They're not. Communities. The strategy has to be informed by the connections, right? It has to be formed. By the connections. Thank you for that super chat, Mistress Monica. Shout out to the Power Community. Thanks for sharing your time with us, Darante. I love y'all so much. Y'all are amazing, man. Y'all make this so fun. And I got more costs, so I'm trying to keep it out of y'all ear. But I know it comes off as counterintuitive because you think that what you're going to have when people start coming is this great big vision of, yes, we're going to have weekly barbecues and Sunday fun days. And it's like, no, you don't even know if they like that. You too small to be making all them promises. There's not enough of you there. You don't have an identity yet. You don't have an identity yet. What's actually going to matter to people, and I'm proving it, y'all. This is proven. What's actually going to matter to people is that you're there. What's actually going to matter to people is that there's a space that exists for them. And you're going to be very shocked to as your spaces start growing, that it's not just going to attract atheists and agnostics. It's going to attract anybody who finally wants to explore their life safely. There are plenty of people who are religious who just really want a place where they can explore themselves without feeling like every new concept they have is going to be judged. This is one of the reasons why I constantly get on to people about like over policing people. I don't want that shit in Bridge City. You know what I'm saying? Like, no, we're creating space where people have the freedom to get honest with themselves without feeling like they have to conform to somebody else's conclusion. Yes, your conclusion may be right. But for me to accept your conclusion without going through my own process would be you converting me, not me comprehending. And so that's why Bridge City is no doctrine based. We're no agenda based. We exist to be a better way to connect. And so the main question that we should always be asking is, how does this impact how we connect? You know what I'm saying? That's the question. Now how this rubs my favorite agenda. How does this impact how we connect? You know? Dang, this is good. I'm sorry, y'all. I didn't mean to go this hard. I didn't mean to go this hard. So I get it. It feels counterintuitive, right? Because we're not used to connecting anymore. We're used to directing and being directed, not connecting and being connected. We're not used to connecting and being connected. We're used to directing others. I want to be able to tell people what to do. I want to and it's not even about control. Now, for some of you motherfuckers, it is about control. Just be honest, tell the truth. But it's not even just about control. It's about wanting to feel useful, right? Like I need to be able to tell them what they're going to be able to do. I need to be able to tell them where I'm going to want them to go. Are you flight control? Well, no. Okay, then don't even worry about that. Don't even worry. No. What's most important is connection. I have no desire to direct anybody. I'm an anarchist, you know? Sometimes people think of anarchy from the aspect of rejecting the authority of others. I reject having authority over others. Oh, y'all ain't ready for that. Nah, that's what my anarchy means. Now, yeah, other people don't get authority over me. If you have a rule and that rule makes sense, I don't take your rule. If I think it through and it makes sense, it becomes my rule. You see that? We just happen to share a similar rule. I'm not following your rules. Okay. But that's what I kind of want for everyone. Is that like, no, I'm not trying to necessarily be your director, not in the beginning, not for community. Let's just connect, right? Like imagine going on a date. Imagine going on a date and immediately start talking about, so where we going to work 5 years from now? Whoa, bruh, like we just sat down. I ain't even got my breadsticks yet. Can I get my drink first? Like, damn, do you have a middle name? You know what I'm saying? But like that's the stuff we do because we undervalue the connection. We think the connection is just a side effect. We think the connection is just there. And I'm like, no, the connection is the point. That's the whole reason you go on the date. You're checking for the connection. Let's talk, you know? All right. All right. So let's jump into this. So dang it, I did not expect this to get so good. I didn't. All right. So again, our purpose is we exist to be a better way to connect, right? So, which means we have to wrestle with redefining connection. Many of us grew up confusing contact with connection. Like a like is a contact, a view is a contact, even a debate is a contact. Like even in relationships, I found this out about me earlier. Like I thought, watch this. I lived the first part of my life believing that touch was my love language. Like now I don't even believe in love language. Now I actually think love language is like one of the most damaging things to relationships, because I'm like, hey, motherfucker, if we both speak English, we should just be speaking. That should be our love language. The language we speak should be our love language, especially when the majority of relationships are being destroyed because people ain't talking to each other. And you talking about give me gifts and touch me here. Like I like touch. I really do like to be touched, but I realize I do not equate it with connection. I don't equate being touched with being connected with. Oh man, anybody else? Like, and it kind of broke my heart a little bit when I found out. Like, dang, I was living my whole life like that's what was important. Is she gonna give me some? You know what I'm saying? Like that was like the most important thing for a while. And I'm like, no, that ain't even what matters to me. That was the agenda-based feed. That's not even what was important to me. Like actually, dang man, I gotta reschedule Dr. Darrell Ray so we have this conversation. Because that's one phenomenon that he's noticed among people who were Christians and deconvert. Many of them were hypersexual while they were Christians, and once they deconvert and stop suppressing their sexuality, they found out all other different types of things about themselves. And it ends up kind of balancing out. And it's just like, wow. And so I was one of those people where I realized, like, damn, communication, talking to other people, people sharing their stories and me sharing my stories. This is why, and I lead. I get naked first. I know it. Look, I'm feeling bad about this one because this is something that preachers used to always say. And now that I know what just happens, preachers using this one just seems problematic. But it just meant like I get naked first. I'm showing all of my mistakes. I'm showing all of my vulnerability. I'm showing all of my problems first. And I know that's risky. People have constantly used it against me, or thought they were using it against me. People have constantly tried to take my weaknesses. But see, I learned a little church saying way back in the day, and this came from a person that y'all ain't gonna like. Don't worry, I didn't like him either. I liked him when I was a kid, like when I was in high school. But it was Jesse Duplantis, and he said, "Shame the devil before the devil shames you." Right? And so that's one thing I've learned about being able to get naked before everybody else get naked. You can't say shit about me because I did it to myself. What? And of course, being saved in high school, you got to do that because they want to say, "Oh, Darante kissing about." No, I'm gonna tell you, hey y'all, I just kissed such and such. It was wrong, but damn, it was good. All right, So there are many things that are contact, but it's not connection. It's contact, but it's not connection. And so, in that regard, many of us have become so used to confusing contact with connection that we accept contact as a substitute for connection. And that eventually leads us to the place where we feel empty because we're trying to figure out how the fuck do I have 5,000 friends and not one person to talk to? That's a world of bad connections. Somebody type that in the chat. Bad connections. How do I have 5,700 friends on Facebook? How do I have 200,000 followers on such and such? And I don't have people to talk to. I don't have people to connect with. How do I have, watch this. Some of you have business ideas. You have community ideas, organization ideas, and you have so many people in your social media following, but not one of them that you would even consider working with, or that you think would consider working with you. This means we got some bad connection problems, right? Connection is different. Connection is mutual presence. It is shared understanding and aligned care, right? It is shared understanding. I'm not trying to force you to understand me. You're not trying to force me to understand you. I am curious about you and you are curious about me. It is shared understanding. It is mutual presence. We are here together, right? And it's aligned care. Aligned care. Care that does not cross boundaries. So that's, I was counseling somebody with a familial issue a few years ago. And in the issue, they were trying to figure out what was going on between them and their relative. And I identified it is this toxicity. And it's the type of toxicity that many people don't often understand. It's the type of toxicity, and I ended up using this as my definition of toxic. I said toxic is any. I said we run the risk of being toxic anytime I want more for you than you want for yourself, and I'm willing to put myself in the position to try to force it on you or make it happen. So a lot of times you have people in family who mean well. Yeah, you know they mean well, but they become toxic because they determine that what I think for your life is more important than what you think for your life. So I will constantly cross your fucking boundaries to impose what I want on your life. So that's why I said no, community is about aligned care. That's care with boundaries. That my concern for you has to stop where you tell it to stop at. Oh, have you ever heard anybody say anything like that? Like, no, there has to be a safe word here. There has to, I have to be able to have a safe word. Like, you can't just violate me with your love. You don't get to do that. You don't get to do that. Carrot, potato, something. Damn, I wish hams, potatoes, yams, damn it. Like, safe word, God damn it. You cannot violate me with your love. It has to be aligned care. Well, the community, we just think that you're doing a little bit too much over here. So we just want to talk. Whoa, did I invite you into my life to talk to me about that? Then you crossing a boundary. Man, oh man. I had a mentor when I was a youth pastor. That I went to an event, and there was a conversation that happened at the event. Actually, there was a lot of conversations that happened at the event that were very uncomfortable. Some were very racial and in overtone. And when I say racial, I mean the N word was used a few times with the R, with the ER, that one, not the hip hop one, the redneck one. You know, but there was some other conversations that had taken place that I felt really, really uncomfortable with. And so when I got back, I was talking to my mentor at the time. Sam Seals was his name. And I don't know what it is, And he said, oh, I can tell you exactly what it is. He said, that was called unsolicited advice. Now I realize now for you, what's this, astrology people? Like, yes, I am a Taurus, and I know there's jokes about Taurus don't like to be told what the fuck to do. All right. This is true about me, but it ain't got nothing to do with the stars that weren't where you think they were. Okay. So, but it's unsolicited advice. This is why I'm so poetic in the way that I speak, because many of my mentors were poetic. He said, basically, this person walked into your house and started rearranging your furniture, and you never asked them to. You never invited that. He said, did you ask a question that led to that conversation? No, I didn't. He said, that's why you're feeling that way. What you experienced was violation, man. This is why, like, if y'all will see me in my comments, like, I become a beast sometimes when people drop unsolicited advice in the comments. And main times it's because it's really jerkish stuff and they don't know they're being a jerk. And I'm an educator, okay? Oh my goodness, I love to educate people. It is a passion of mine. So if you a jackass, I'm gonna let you know, because I gotta educate you on it, right? I gotta hey, let me show you all the ways that what you just said was fucking stupid. Okay, I'm gonna educate you on that, right? So please don't do it. Don't do it to yourself. Don't do it to yourself. All right, sorry, but it's aligned care, right? So it's aligned. It's aligned care, not violating other people's boundaries. Other people get to pick their boundaries as long as their boundaries aren't crossing yours. You know? Damn. And it's like we really do emotionally try to colonize people. You ever think about it that way? It's just imagery, right? It's imagery. I'm not trying to coin the phrase, but it's imagery. We really do try to emotionally colonize people. Well, like, I would really like for you not to put your barrier, your boundaries over here across mine. Well, I'm gonna have to put them over there because it's what the Lord wants. I'm gonna have to put them over there because it's what society needs. I'm gonna have to put them over there because really what's best for you. So you just lay there and take it. Let me take all of you and fill it with me. Emotional colonization. Like, leave people space alone. People comment on my glasses. They comment on my beard. they comment on the fact that I like to wear my stuff all the way up to the neck, you know? Number one, I ain't trying to be sexy for y'all. Because once I turn it on, I can't turn it off now. God damn it. We'll go full Barry White mode. Practice what you preach. We'll be here all day then. But the big point is let people define themselves. So here's the upgraded path that I want us practice in the Bridge City. All right. Contact is just the starting point. All right. You got to you got to chat. Somebody said, hey, you tapped in. That's contact. That's perfect. All right. So you tapped in, or maybe, because like what I ask everybody who's interested in being a part of Bridge City Global to do is to go through BC 101. I was in a conversation with someone yesterday, and they were telling me how frustrated they were because, like, I don't know how any of this is supposed to work. I don't know how the dues are supposed to work for membership. I don't know if we even have dues. I don't know any of that stuff. And I feel like that's stuff you need to be thinking about. People don't realize how offensive their ignorance can be. Because what you're telling me is that you've had access to BC 101 it's been up since February. It's been up since February. And you ain't went through it yet. Because that's course 3. That is literally course 3. I just think you should be thinking about it. Yeah. You're right. I really should have thought about that, and maybe even, I don't know, put it in the course and maybe decided, the part about money don't need to be in course 1. That's like coming straight out the gate, and then not even in course 2. So let's move. It sounds like somebody would have had to put a lot of fucking thought into that shit to even do that, to make that happen. But this is where I get to that. Remember that process I told you I went through earlier when I opened up in the introduction? The process that I went through, you go through the confusion, the anger, the hurt, the resentment, and then eventually the understanding. I get it. You don't like to read. The problem is, though, you're not living in your reality then, because you're mistaking you not liking to read with me not already having the information available. See, they're not the same thing. This is a correlation issue here. All right. These things are related. They are not caused. You know what I'm saying? All right. So no, it exists. Your level of intention, your level of commitment, your level, and I won't use that to judge you. I'll never use that to knock you down, but I'll be damned if I allow you to accuse me of doing something that I haven't done because you were too lazy to do the damn work. I'm sorry. I said what I said. It is what it is. All right. I've already said it. So it's not just tapping in. I've already said it. Don't be mad at me. I said it. Damn it. I said it. Grown ass man. That's what the fuck I want to say. All right. So y'all stop laughing at me out there. Stop laughing. I can see y'all. I mean, in my mind, I can see y'all. All right. So after you tap in, if you want to build local community, or after you go to BC 101, if you wanted to be a part of the global community, you don't just go in there, just sit there like a frog on a log and expect something magical to happen. Y'all got to let that superstitious shit go. No, you got to get in there and you actually got to talk to other people. And you got to remember that talking to people is hard as fuck. It don't get easy just because my name is on it. And I think that's what some people think. They think because Darante's name is on it, everybody's going to be in here. They just going to want to talk to me. No, they not. You know why? Because the majority of people, when they join, guess who they want to talk to? This motherfucker. And I'm like, y'all see how busy I am, man. No. And you talking to me would never create anything tangible for the community. Not at this moment. But if you start talking to each other, you get in BC 101 and you say, you know what? For 6 weeks, I don't care if nobody says anything in there. I'm going in there and I'm saying something under everybody's post. We need people like that. Because you don't get to the connection without the communication. All right. So you go through contact, and then there has to be some communication, man. There has to be some conversation, because it's the communication that's going to lead to the comprehension. Remember what I said earlier? The conversations, the connections help you know what's in the room, right? Then you're not, then you're not waiting for what does Darante want us to do? Then you're not waiting, what is Darante going to do for us? Because that's going to get disappointing for y'all. I'm going to tell y'all that now. Then you realize, no, that was the whole point, y'all. The whole point of community was us coming together. We're in the course, we're reading the material, we see the blueprint. What do we want to do with it? That leads to comprehension. We're talking about it. Now we're starting to understand it. See, anybody telling me they don't understand the vision who has not tapped in and has not started talking to other people, I'm like, oh, I understand why you don't understand. You haven't tried to. And I get it. And if you haven't, if you even if you can't see that, I'm not gonna try to force you to get it. I'm just gonna be like, yeah, I got it. I'm gonna say, well, you know what might be helpful is going through Bridge City 101. It might be helpful. Because watch this. And I've said, oh my goodness, I said to people, because you may go through Bridge City 101 and decide, oh, this motherfucker crazy. This feels like a cult. I want out. I don't want to do nothing with this. You know? Oh, this is so good. So you go from contact to communication, conversations. The reason why we have SoCal right now, why it's doing something, is because Robert, Ashley, all those people in those areas, Natalie, they went from tap in, contact, to communication, responding to emails, responding to text messages, responding to invitation to join the app, and that helps you get an understanding. And every now and then, like I'm paying attention. I'm paying attention. This is why I always kind of encourage people, like, leave your agendas at the door, because when you come in with your agendas, you're going to rob yourself of an opportunity to build relationships, because that when everybody sees you, they're not going to be able to see you as an individual. They're going to see your agenda. They're going to see your cause. And that's not what this is. This is for them to see you. Oh my goodness. Okay. All right. And then so that gets us to the point we now understand. Now we're connected. We're not really connected if we're not understanding each other. And understanding takes work. I'm going to pull a scripture. I'll quote the Jedi next week. But in all of your getting, get understanding. Like, if we really want to be connected to people, and that's why I tell people, like, the main model of a Bridge City campus, like, I gave you like organizational type of thing, but like, what does a Bridge City campus do? How does it operate? How does it what is its life activity? It's the weekend experience. So this kind of what we're doing now, except for there in person, and build that experience out. It's groups, places, you and people who are part of that community that have shared interests. It could be a relationship-based group. It can be a business-based, and it's not just one or the other. Your community can host several groups, anything from a book club to a think tank. You can host several groups. Groups allow people to come together around the things that are interesting to them, their hobbies. Teams, which are very much like groups, but they are places where people can work on the things that are important to them in service to the community at large, right? And then missions, which is the last one, things that the community can invest in together to make a difference locally. Doesn't mean everybody in the community will be doing it. It could mean, hey, for this quarter, we're going to be focusing on doing something for the schools, or next quarter, we're going to be focusing on doing something for the homeless population. These are the core components of the activity life of a Bridge City campus: the weekend experience, groups, teams, and missions. Those are all points of connection that eventually allow us to collaborate. If we stop at contact, if we stop at communication, we're just trading signals. When we press into comprehension, we're building a bridge. When we step into connection, we share load-bearing trust. Collaboration is what connected people do. And connection, it's not agreement. I don't have to become you to understand you. Let that sit for a minute. I don't have to become you to understand you, okay? Real connection really requires 3 permissions. Permission to see, right? I'm curious about your interior world. Permission to be seen. I bring my honest self without the costume, and permission to be changed. I can allow new data to update me. So this is one of the reasons, and I think this sometimes makes people uncomfortable with me because I model that. I model it and people mistake it for weakness. And so I do have to give you that warning. When you kind of model this, people will mistake it for weakness. When you're modeling that, people will mistake it for you not knowing what the plan is. When you model not being the dictator, when you model not being closed-minded, when you model not being authoritarian, people are like, oh, he don't know what he want to do. And I always tell people, y'all have heard me say it on this channel over and over again. I update my realism in real time. Y'all have also heard me say stuff like, I'm not married to anything other than my wife. Why? Because as a fucking sociologist, I have a different view on these things. And so I don't attach to details that other people attach to. Like when I say I don't attach, so most people, they believe in this fallacy like that I like to call the one-way fallacy, that there's only one way to success. And if I don't do it this way, I'm not going to get there. I used to be that way. When I was first a church planner, I was that person. And that was all right. But then guess what I did? I learned shit. And I realized like, nah, cause they did it this way. They zigged and zagged and looped and still got there. And so what I realized is none of those things actually matter. It doesn't matter the route we take. It matters who we're taking it with. Oh, y'all don't understand. So no. So because of that, yes, do I have a structure that I say I want it to go this exact way? Sure. But this is community. My preferences should not go beyond their utility. You know what I'm saying? So when and I told you, every time a new person joins the community, every time a new person joins the team, it changes, updates, possibly even upgrades the possibilities. And so I live there. I'm like, oh, we were going to do this. No, we're going to pivot now because, hey, somebody just came in that can sing like Babyface. So, hey, we got a singing leader now. I know we weren't going to sing tonight, but hey, this brother can sing like Babyface. So we're going to let him sing Sexual Chocolate and all that. You know what I'm saying? Oh my goodness. I hope this is good for somebody. I hope this is good. So I update my realism in real time. So I'm open. So I'll come in and I say, oh, this is my plan. This is how I would like to see us do it. And for me, because I know that the big thing is actually the connections, not necessarily the plan. It's about maintaining the connections. It's not about what we claim. It's about how we connect. The plan exists for the connection. And if the plan starts fucking up the connections, then we've planned wrong, So I'm always willing. I'll lay out my plan. Hey, y'all, I think we're going to do this. We're going to go this route, this route, this route. And then we're going to do this. And then if somebody in the room says, ooh, what if we do this? If it's not a stupid thing, I'm going to be like, I'm open. Let's go. Because that's community. That's community. If I have to be mindful of creating the space, I have to model that to say, because that's what I'd want from other community developers, is that when someone else on your team, when you've invited someone else in the room and they come up with the plan that you didn't have on the agenda, that this is really community and the plan isn't stupid, that counts. That counts. But if it's a good plan, that you please, if you're a developer of one of our communities, please be willing to consider it. And say, oh, dang, as long as it's not going to throw the logistics off. And so the beautiful thing is we don't have any logistics yet because we really don't exist yet, y'all. I be having to stress this like a mug, but like we don't exist yet. We exist, but we don't. It's just me. And right now, a SoCal team, they coming along. They coming along. But they don't exist yet. You know what I'm saying? It doesn't really exist until it's more than me who feels like their life depends on it. Oh, this just got deep. This just got deep. Like I set things up the way that I set things up as a filtration process. I know that there are people, and it really like became obvious in February, but I know that there are people who connect with me that don't know nothing about me. And it becomes clear in conversations. It becomes like you just watched one video, didn't you? You just watched one video 6 months ago and said, I'm in love, and didn't watch not another video. It becomes clear in conversations, but it becomes, start noticing that, oh man, some people are only here because I have a lot of numbers, not because they care about what I'm saying or what I'm trying to do. And I'm like, for those people, I'm like, that's where your confusion is. Like you earned your confusion rightfully. Like you got it naturally. You know what I'm saying? You got it rightfully. You earned that confusion. You only watched one video. That's not enough information. You know, you know. So man, so if any of those permissions is missing, the signal gets noisy. That's the bad connection feeling. When the bars are up, but the calls keep dropping. We're talking, but we're missing each other. There's a bad connection. So we got to go back through that. Okay, we're connected, or we've contacted, we've communicated, but did we really get an understanding of what was communicated? You know, so there's practices that we have a bad habit as a society of compartmentalizing good behavior. Mhm. So like running your business in a way to make sure that your business is profitable, or at least sustainable, is good business. Okay. But in our society, doing that in your marriage for many people is considered treating your marriage like a business. We have to break the habit of compartmentalizing good behavior. No, if it's a good idea for the business not to be broke, it's probably a good idea for the family not to be broke too. So the behavior that we use over there that we know is good behavior, there's no reason we should just lock that over there. That's good behavior. Let's do that at home too. Let's practice that good behavior at home. Let's say, as long as we're going to be living in capitalism, as long as we're going to be living in it, once it changes, we can go with the flow. But as long as we're going to be living, let's treat our family like, hey, can we outdo last year? Can we do a little better? What do you think we can do? What do you think we can add to the family portfolio? I'm sorry, that's too much for y'all. But the point is, we have to stop learning. We have to learn how to stop compartmentalizing good behavior. So a great example of this is in relationships that are in conflict. There is a communication method that is often used to help de-escalate a situation. And I'm always a fan of de-escalation. So one of those things is, all right, let's work on preventing the miscommunication that's blocking the comprehension problem. Because you'll hear it in arguments. The word understand starts getting used a lot. And that's when you know that at least one of those people are no longer even trying to understand. All right. And so a little tool that is often given is, all right, what I heard you said was, and then repeat it back. And I often make sure I tell people to do it two ways because I'm overkill. Repeat it back in exactly the way they said it, so that, and y'all have heard me say this, so that you can hear their words coming out of your mouth. Right? Because as long as you're in defense mode, you're going to hear their words as attack. It don't matter what they say. They could have said, Mary had a little lamb. What you trying to say then, huh? Mary had a little lamb. I know what that means. Mary and little lambs. Like I don't know nothing about Mary and little lambs. So what you do is you say, okay, so what I heard you say was Mary had a little lamb. What is you saying to me? When you allow yourself to say it back in your own voice, you allow yourself to strip it of the things that you've already projected onto them. All right. After you've done that, then you allow yourself to say it in your words. All right. You've heard their words in your voice. You've allowed yourself to process that. Now, okay. So what I heard you say in your words is da ta ta ta. Okay. And what that means to me is ta 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 ta. Before we go a step further, am I getting that right? That is humility. That is curiosity. That is a sincere and tangible desire to actually understand and to engage in good faith. Anything outside of that is likely going to escalate the situations, So, but if we already know that's good behavior in relationships with people we love, then why don't we just make that good behavior for conversations with people? That if I'm talking to people, because I know, as I open up with this introduction, misunderstandings are not rare. They are the norm. They are not the exception. Ooh. Subjective thinking is not rare. It's not the exception. It's the norm. So I have to put up those safeguards if I'm trying to engage intentionally. Listen, if I'm trying to be a better way to connect, I have to be willing to put up those safeguards to be able to say, now, let me repeat that back before I jump, right? Oh, man. So we have to be building rooms where people can actually hear and be heard. All right, let's section 2, and I'm rolling. Dang, I did not think I was going to be going this long. No, by the way, let me make this clear. Since I'm talking to seems to be a predominantly Bridge City global audience today, I want to make this very clear. I do not expect the Bridge City campus situations to have 2-hour-long lectures. Please don't do that to your people. And if you do, it better be really, really, really good. That's not an expectation. I do this long because this is YouTube and it's totally a monetization thing. The longer the video is on, the more people stay on, right? So if the video is only an hour and you come in 30 minutes late, you already felt that you've missed the video. So YouTube culture is more likely to leave if they come late and it's only an hour long. So roughly 2 hours is a sweet spot for YouTube live show. So now for you content creators, who are in this type of space, that's some advice for you. All right, sorry, back to regularly scheduled programming. So the next section, and we're going to get ready to roll out. I got 2 big sections to hit, and then we're going to roll. Cost of superficial community. This is very important. So like we've talked about our purpose. Oh, no, we're still in this. Okay, yeah. So now, what does superficial community rob us of? Superficial community, it looks packed, but it feels empty. It's crowded without being covered. You get rental belonging. You can stay as long as you pay with performance. You can stay as long as you pay with purity, or you can stay as long as you pay with compliance. And then the moment you miss a payment, you're punished or you're evicted. And it's like, and see, here's the bill that we've been footing. You're getting loneliness in public, full calendars with empty hearts, fragile bonds, one disagreement, and the thread snaps. As a matter of fact, there's a book that I started. I got to go back to my notes, man. I got so many books that I've started writing and have not finished writing yet. But I was working on a book called Romantic Fragility because I noticed so many of us have allowed our engagement with media to shape what we expect from others in relationships. And it's definitely created this type of fragility around romance and what it means to be loved. Like we're starting to take phraseology like broke my heart, like a little too serious, romantic fragility is one of the reasons. This is an extreme reason, but like I'd say it's the same thing. I'd say that, but y'all know I'm a little stoic. But romantic fragility is one of the reasons why people feel like they got to kill somebody who cheated on them. Like, bro, if you don't like cheating, you just leave them. Don't play with them no more. Okay. I don't like playing with cheaters either. I don't either. I get up. I ain't playing this game no more. So no, you don't like you going back to the bootleg hall rules. Like they cheating, you got to shoot them. No, hey, just don't play with them no more. Get your money back. All right. So the thread snaps. You get agenda addiction because now if you're so connected but have no connections, you're going to feel the need to gravitate. If you're feeling lonely, if you're feeling isolated, you're going to feel the need to gravitate to somebody's agenda to feel accepted. And I see that every day. And again, it's one of those things that really kind of drives me nuts, where we're trying to make other people fit into our molds as a requirement to be accepted as a human being. And I'm like, oh, chill, So we end up bonding over our enemies, not over our empathy. We bond over who we're trying to stop, not who we're trying to help. We bond over what we're trying to tear down, not what we're trying to build up. And in all of those scenarios, that means nothing gets done. That means we're bonding over not doing. We're bonding over excuses. That's how I hear it. That's how I hear it. That's what I used to tell my kids. Any excuse to do, you pick any one of them you want to. And the funny thing about excuses, is they all feel like good reasons. All excuses feel like good reasons. Every single one of them. And so I'll go ahead and let you know right now, if there's something you want to do, if there's something you want to achieve, focus on that. Don't focus on the thing that you the negative thing. Focus on the positive. What do I want to do about the negative thing? See, that's what Bridge City's trying to create space, you know, because that other way leads to burnout and bitterness. All right. And neither one of those are helpful. You can't help nobody if you're burnt out, you know? Well, I've been going to all the protests and everything, and I'm out there. And I don't wait, I don't spend a lot of money. And I'm like, could you afford to do all of that? Mm-mm. So maybe it would have been a real cool idea to get a part of a community that valued you for you and not just the cause you supported. Damn, this is good. We're exhausted from performing for rooms that never learn to care. You get involved in misinformation loops. When the goal is viral and not vital, truth gets traded for tempo. Superficial spaces reward noise over nuance, spectacle over substance, agreement over understanding. And the cost isn't just emotional, it's strategic. You can't build long-term change on short-term performances. If our connections are thin, our impact will be thinner. The most important thing that can be happening in Bridge City Global right now for the local spaces and the global space is the people who are connected actually start talking to each other. That's what's going to warm up the room, and that's what's going to bring the possibilities to life. There's individuals are so expansive, are so amazing. All of you represent hobbies, interest, and all of those things are valuable in the context of community. But if the only conversations you're having with each other are about your agendas, the agendas you support, and not about you, then you're never going to get to know each other. Dang, this is good. So what does better look like? When we say a better way to connect, better isn't a vibe, it's a practice. It's how we move. Again, I say knowledge shouldn't just change how we claim. It should change how we build. Bridge City is about connection. It's you have to learn, this is good. You have to learn how to slow the space because speed distorts signal. So I try to get people to normalize pauses, clarifying questions, like say more. Just recently, I had a conversation with our Discord team, where they had timed somebody out. And I looked at it and I said, that looked a little harsh to me. And I said, before we do that next time, can we possibly put in some practices of de-escalation or even disengagement if it's only disagreement based? If the person isn't actually violating the server, it's just the conversation is getting tense because y'all have different ways of viewing it, then we should just de-escalate that situation. That's not even a necessary conversation at that moment. It's a conversation that you're both passionate about, but it's a conversation that has very little to do with the community about moving either of your lives forward. It won't change anything about neither one of you. So at this moment, you're actually invested in it just to win for no damn reason. And that's just going to sabotage relationships again for no reason. So instead, could we adopt a policy where we de-escalate these situations if it's possible? So we say, I see that we're looking at this differently. So I'll tell you what, let's talk about something different, Or I tell you what, actually, I'm a little bit more passionate about this than I thought I was going to be. So I'm going to take a break from this conversation. That's disengagement. Those are the type of things you do when you value people over your pet peeves. Oh, this is good, y'all. This is good. Needless to say, I'm likely going to be closing the Discord down because I had moderators who felt that was too much to do. They feel like, no, it's way too complicated to try to de-escalate a situation. Oh, okay, great. Well, if we don't have any moderators who value people, that we won't play that game. And just to be clear, it was just two. But so you slow things down to get a better understanding, okay? You slow things down. You name your assumptions. Here's what I heard. Here's why I'm responding the way that I'm responding. Here's what I'm assuming about your intent. You know, please stop it with these micro aggressive interrogations of other people. I'm gonna try to get them to say what I really think. Just tell them that's what you're thinking then. Just like, hey, what I think or what I'm assuming, because you're not a fucking psychic, what I'm assuming, you could be right, but you're not a psychic. So you don't know if you're right. And you know that you're not a psychic. You know that you're not a psychic. So he said, what I'm assuming, that's the safest thing for me to say. What I'm assuming is that this is what you're really trying to do, and these are your intentions. Now, if I'm wrong, please let me know. That's mapping the gap before you jump it. Ask generous questions, not gotcha questions. You know, People can tell when they're being interrogated. And I'm like, no, let's not talk to each other that way. No, I'm not trying to get you. I'm trying to get you. Help me understand. You know, Curiosity should be our default setting. Repair over win. Besides, like if somebody believes something differently than I do, it changes absolutely nothing about my life. If somebody has a way of engaging with others that's different the way that I do, it changes nothing about my life. So one thing, like I don't want to say never because that's not really an accurate thing to do, but I'm gonna say it anyway. One thing you'll never see me doing is telling people like, hey, if I was you, I'd be doing this. You know what I'm saying? 'Cause I'm like, oh, but I'm not them. And that's probably why they're not doing that, because they dim and they got their own reasons for why they're doing it. They didn't stop to themselves like, before I do this, what does the other 8 billion strangers on this planet think I should do about it? What the hell? Like, no. So I realized like, oh, Darante, what you're doing now is going back to that emotional colonization. It's a nice idea you have there, you know? See, when we miss, we mend. Okay, so now that I hear you, I realize, I heard that the wrong way. That was a sore spot for me. Remember, going back to the beginning, I said, I'm getting all of these emails and I'm feeling like I'm being attacked. I'm feeling like everybody is telling me, like, you need to do more, bruh. The reason you ain't doing stuff is because of this. And I'm like, feeling attacked. But then I was able to recalibrate through my process. What was it? Confusion, anger, hurt, resentment. I wish and then understanding, oh, I could have got that wrong because that was so close to my sore spot. Maybe I need to reset. Repair is how we trust, is how trust compounds, and then you ritualize care, micro rituals, macro rhetoric, check-ins, shared summaries. Like, you hear me say it every weekend now. These Sundays are a weekly touch point. It's a check-in. It's a micro ritual. When as your communities start to grow, you'll have them there. Micro rituals, next step commitments, small repeatable acts of care, growth, and development. You know. So one of the things that I typically like to do is how I approach other people is just good faith first. Do I know that many people are, I don't want to say problematic, but that many people have problems that are so pressing in their lives that it impacts the way they engage others and it leads their decisions and their motives. Yeah, I know that. I know that from day one. Am I going to waste time trying to find them in advance? No, no. What I am going to do is build in some filtration processes and say, okay, if you're serious, go through BC 101, tap into this forum, join that WhatsApp group, and just treat everybody equally. Good faith first, and let people, like what Maya Angelou say: when people show you who they are, believe them. See, we presume humanity before we prosecute a point, and I think so many people connected with the secular culture are so used to debating that they can't find a room without turning it into an argument. And it's like, no, you just really here to connect, dog. You just here to chill. This ain't fight night. This is not Fight Club. Everything you see is not a fight. I'm gonna give some old preacher advice. Why are you fighting battles that you can't get nothing out of? That's practicing poverty. Why are you doing that? Stop that. I'm sorry, I went mastermind mode. Sorry, went coach mode. But seriously, stop fighting battles that you can't get anything out of. That is practicing poverty. Stop that. Why are you investing your energy in things that you cannot get a return from? Stop that. That is practicing poverty. Stop that. Stop it right now. Okay, I'm just playing. I'm serious, but I ain't got no power over you. You keep doing it if you want to, but it's practicing poverty. Stop it. All right, so man, this is good. So you really, I want to help people go. Like, look, listen. I'm a smart guy. I've done a lot of things. When you're in the room with me, that's never what you're gonna get. You're never gonna get me say, I've done this, I'm so great. That's never what you're gonna get. Low ego, high curiosity. What do you think? Because I already know what I think. And I don't know what you or don't know about what I think. I know I put what I think out a lot. I know that I publish what I think in books that I've written. I know that I publish what I think in courses that I've made and in study guides that I've made, which are available on Windows Shop. So I don't know. So I don't talk about myself that much. I try to get to know other people in the room. Low ego, high curiosity. Why are you here? That's like one of the first questions I ask. Why are you here? Like, what brought you here? How? Why? Like I'm like, people think I'm just trying to get flattered. I'm like, no, why? What made you see? I'm a sociologist. I want to understand, like, what made you look at a black dude? Like, I can't say fat no more because I still got the fat suit, but I'm not like fat, But this black dude with these big ass glasses who cuss a lot. He don't slow down on the Monday through Friday because YouTube. But on the live shows, now I do want to say, when we're in physical campuses for our campuses, I will likely not cuss at our campuses during the Sunday streams unless we know like that's a big deal with people, and I don't want to cross anybody's boundaries unnecessarily, right? So, but we can do Saturday night sessions, Friday night sessions where we just go all raw. But on here, when I'm just sitting in my living room, this is what you're gonna get. So you're gonna hear some slipping ups, some cussing. It ain't even slipping up. I'm doing it intentionally. Like, one of them I wrote into the notes, like it's in my transcript. It's right there. All right. So, but it's low ego, high curiosity. And for me, I have no standard of judgment for what anybody puts on the table at this moment because it's just 13 people in the room. You know what I'm saying? So people are going to put stuff on the table that's not going to be like, oh, there's a lot of things missing there. Yeah. Like, there's a lot of people missing. Like, someone was critiquing me one day because I get a lot of critiques. Like, I think sometimes when people say I need help, they reinterpret that to mean, oh, he needs advice. And I'm like, oh, no. No. Advice isn't the helpful thing at this moment. The help is the helpful thing, Like somebody writing the email and then sending the email and then thinking about the next email, somebody picking the software, planning the software, and then teaching other people how to use the software. Like that's the help stuff, But they were like, oh, the website, it needs this. And I'm like, yeah, it does. And it was like, and then this needs this. And I was like, yeah, it does. And they were like, and then the images over here, they can use it. I'm like, yeah, they do too. I'm like, are you aware that I do all of those? Okay. So let me ask you this. Out of those, which one of those can you do? Oh, I can't do that. What is you doing? You're gossiping at this moment then. You be gone from me, you gossiper. But no, like at that moment, like, oh, so you talking about something you can't even do. You trying to give me more work. So what you just said is, hey, Darante, I see that you're doing all of this stuff, and I see that you just grew this channel in less than a year from 52 to over 60,000 people, and I know that you're currently maintaining Windows Shop, and you're maintaining the website, and you're currently actually responding to your commenters, your fans. You built the Discord, did all that stuff. I see you doing all that, but hey, here's some stuff that you left, man. You got to go get them crumbs, bro. Damn, leave no crumbs. Just bit myself an ass. But that's what it's like. It's like you come in a room and you see somebody working their ass off, and instead of picking up a shovel, you say, hey, you missed the spot. That is never gonna feel good. That is never gonna feel good. And so it's like, one of the things that's very disappointing with me, and I've always been this way. I was like this when I was a pastor. I used to tell people, I don't use this phrase anymore, but I should tell people, like, if you're going to lead with me, you have to lead like me. But the reason what I was meaning that is, like, I model empathy. I model understanding. I model not being assumptive and how I communicate with people. And so sometimes it amazes me as that the things that I model towards others, they refuse to model towards me. Oh my goodness. Y'all getting a lot of me today. All right. Let's get through this. I don't think I'm gonna get through all of these notes. There's no way I'm getting through all these notes because I got to shut this thing down. All right. So consent to the conversation, time limits, no hostage dialogues. And that's I see a lot of conversations that become hostage dialogue, where you're literally holding the other person hostage to the conversation. They're trying their best to get out of the conversation, and you're forcing them to stay in it to prove a point. That's not connection, right? That's violation. Whew, man, are y'all enjoying this? Y'all let me know in the chat. Is this good for y'all? Has this conversation been helpful? I'm probably gonna have to just turn this one into a guide and give y'all a script because there's no way I'm getting through all of this. It's just it's not happening. Like I have so many more notes and I've taken so many rabbit trails today to actually share some good stuff. And I didn't. I thought that I'd be done with this by now. I thought like we'd be singing "Get Right, Church" and "Let's Go Home." But man, I love y'all. Y'all are beautiful. All right. So the next two things we were gonna hit, and I'm just gonna kind of let it flow, is that that our purpose is to be a better way to connect. That our mission is to, or now we're getting into the part of our mission where our mission is not only to be that better way to connect, but to build community beyond superstition. So that it's not just to connect for the sake of connecting, right? We want to be a better way to connect, but what do we want to reap from that connection is tangible community, and when you think of tangible community, I mean, I think one of the best metaphors of community is a potluck. You know, it's a potluck. That's one of the best metaphors of community to me because it's not just about the food. It's about people to prepare the food. It's about people to serve the food. And it's about people to wash the dishes afterwards and clean the stuff up. And it's about people to eat the food. And so everybody has a different part to play. Everybody has a different thing that they can do that's aligned with their mission, that's aligned with their passion, you know, and nobody has to feel left out. I loved when my churches did potlucks because it was something that allowed all of my members, regardless of what class they were, it was something that allowed all of my members to feel like they were equally contributing, to feel like they were a part of something, you know. It allowed people, maybe, oh, I can't cook, and so I don't want to be embarrassed and bring something ain't nobody going to eat, you know. It allowed them to shift over to a place where, like, I can bring the plates, I can bring some sodas, you know. Uh, I can't cook chicken, but Publix got one hell of a deal on some chicken right now. I can damn sure pick it up. My car worked just fine. Community allows for opportunities. It also allows for people to, like, I'm in the visionary aspect of it now, but as your community grows, it allows for people to tap into passions they didn't even know they had. It allows them to tap into skills, ideas, um, inventions even that they would have never thought of, but just by being around other people who didn't hold their identity hostage, who didn't say, if you don't look like me, think like me, vote like me, or worship like me, then you're a threat. You know, the mission is to build community beyond superstition. So you just think about your favorite community that you've ever been a part of. If you've ever been a part of any community that you really, really loved, and 9 times out of 10, that's going to be something like, it's either going to be a church or it's going to be something like a Shriners Club, which that might do better. But just think about, what would that look like for you, being designed for you and by you without any superstition. You're in a community of people that you have a better connection with. What would I do? Like, for me, how do I do this? I think of the greatest churches that I've been a part of, and I ask myself, man, how could I enjoy this whole moment and strip it of all of the superstition and yet still get to do the things that we were doing as a community? Still get to have a school where our members get free education. You know what I'm saying? still get to have programs that train people who want to become entrepreneurs or people who want to get their continuing education. Still have youth programs, after school programs, still have rec centers on our facilities that people can come to and engage. Like my mentor from Cleveland, still have the skating rink and the soccer field indoor, because Cleveland is a very cold city that only gets 2 weeks of summer. And so he said, no, if we have an indoor skating rink and an indoor soccer field, then our members can get summer all year long. They can stay active. Like, these are the things that, so I say, man, I look at all of the most successful churches that I've been a part of and say, man, if I could remove all of the superstition, all of the fluff, and you telling me we could still do that. Again, one of my favorite mentors, they give away a house every quarter, a house and 2 cars every quarter, a house and 2 cars every quarter to one of their members. That's the power of community. Call it gimmicky. You can't do it. Shoot, let me tell you something. If I'm on the reception end of the house and the car, I don't care what kind of gimmick it was. Is it mine? Can I see the paperwork? Is my name gonna be on the deed? It's gonna be mine. Well, you know they only doing this to get more people to come to their church. It's gonna work. Heck, thank you, Pastor. Thank you. You know, yeah, it's gimmicky, but it's helpful. Damn, like if you're gonna be gimmicky, be helpful. Because there's a lot of shit we're doing right now that's gimmicky that ain't helping nobody. It's funny, but who does it help? Oh, this is good, y'all. This is good. So we're building beyond superstition, but it's not just beyond superstition. It's also what we're moving toward, and that's clarity without control. You know, another way of saying moving beyond superstition is also saying moving beyond unchecked certainty. Because that's what superstition is, right? Isn't superstition just unchecked certainty? That you are certain about something that you have not checked? Now, we want to move from that and move into that. I want to get clarity. I want clarity. And I don't want to have to feel like my clarity is being controlled by somebody else. I don't have to see what the fuck you're seeing. We don't have the same eyes. This is why, like, I don't trip when somebody sees something different to me. In my mind, I'm like, oh, okay, I see that different. Some of y'all literally say it out loud. I see that differently. And every time I hear that, I want to say, well, no fucking duh. Like, do you want an announcement for that cookie? I really expected you to see it differently because you're a different person. So a better way to introduce that would be, very interested. I wouldn't have thought about it that way, the way that I saw it. You see how I changed the thing and made it sound like a conversation you'd actually want to be a part of, not like you're being attacked. You're welcome. All right. So it's creating curiosity without condemnation, connection without coercion. Beyond superstition is not the absence of meaning, it's the expansion of meaning. It's the exploration of meaning. It's the investigation of meaning. I want to see if I can find some more Jesse Jackson, Al Sharpton words. It's the celebration of meaning. It's the elevation of meaning. It's the instigation of meaning, the invocation of meaning, the demonstration of meaning. You know, it's the possessing of meaning. I just had to make that run for a little bit. It's when we learn to tell the truth about our fears, our hopes, our questions, and our ignorance. Not running from it. Like, no, I don't know that. I don't know that. Like, I had a moment that I didn't get to have my moment. I got asked a question when I was on one of the call-in shows, and I was about to walk the guy in a trap, but it got cut off, and I was very disappointed. I was very actually, I actually was disappointed. I was mad for like 2 days. I'm not gonna lie. But Bridge City is not here to replace a belief system with another one. We're here to create a culture where humans matter more than hierarchies, where the quality of your life is measured not by what you confess, but your connection. You know, the goal is to have a community that centers humanity, not your agenda, not your cause, humanity. Can we please stop there? Can we start right there? That if whatever fight you're fighting right now is ever going to mean anything, you're going to need to be able to treat people better to have a team. Liberation is not a solo project. It's a collective movement. That's the community we're building at Bridge City. A community where connection is the currency, care is the culture, and progress is the product. Because when we center humanity, we affirm that every person carries worth, and that together we can create a better way to live. That's not some otherworldly promise, but right here, right now, because this is the life that matters, which I'll close with our vision. We've got our purpose to be a better way to connect, our mission to build community beyond superstition. But what do we envision that community looking like? I envision that community as being a space that is progressive thinking, people-centric, and a life-affirming bridge to better, or that it's building life-affirming bridges to better. It all works for me. Change is not our enemy. If you grew up in a superstition-driven space, you probably taught that change is dangerous, which ends up making you incredibly rigid. I'm the opposite. I'm hyper flexible. I'm not hyper flexible because I'm reckless. I'm hyper flexible because I can think long term and say, yeah, we can take this route. That's not the route I planned, but it'll still get us to the same place. And we may actually be able to pick up some more people by going that direction instead of the way that I wanted to go. Do you see how that makes sense? Oh man, I hope this is helpful. So, so when you get into this place, asking questions and updating your information, like I say, updating your realism in real time, to me, it becomes a way of life. Being willing to consider that somebody else's information may add to the information I already have, like that's a way of life for me. Being willing to consider that somebody else who has a different lived experience may have seen something that I've not seen, may have been exposed to something that I've not been exposed to. That's how I live my life. This is how I continue to adapt. This is how I continue to grow. But it's funny because it's almost like people just think that I just showed up knowing all of this. No, I know it every day. I'm a knower. There it is. That if you want to use a label for me, there I'm a knower. I know things. That is so good. I drink and I know things. That's Tyrion Lannister for y'all who didn't know. I don't know how to do the accent, so I wasn't gonna do that. I didn't want to do what is that? I don't know. I feel like it'll be racial, so I'm gonna leave it alone right there. This is becoming awkward already. All right, so change isn't here to undo us. It's here to upgrade us, and we can participate in change together. And people often wonder, like, where does change come from? Change comes from the information that we get from other people. Change comes from the information that we get from engaging, from experiencing, from connecting. That's how we see different outcomes. That's how we see different possibilities. And when we stop resisting the inevitable, we can finally start designing the desirable. We go from progressive thinking to people-centric. Every time I do an organizational chart for DLDD World Group or Bridge City, it takes me forever because I don't like pyramids. I mean, it's not that I don't like pyramids. I don't like the perception that people get for pyramids. I actually love pyramids, especially from the top view. When I say top view, I mean overhead view, aerial view, because then it's the center, next block, like that, which is what I prefer, circles, right? And so I like to build organizational charts that are circular because we have this I think we have an idea that people are above people, and it's like that I can't think of many contexts that's absolutely necessary. It's not that I need to be above or beneath. We just need to be connected. There needs to be some flow of connection, right? So this is not so words like authority are not necessarily needed as it pertains to the relationships we have with each other. So regardless of what title or function I have, which I like to talk more about functions than titles, it doesn't change my worth above yours or anybody else's, because it's people centric. And so, but when this was one of the biggest problems with religious culture, because you don't have that safeguard. So then people see being the pastor as getting some power, right? And that's really not what it is in most cases. When you see a pastor with power, which most cases what you're seeing is a person who is throwing a temper tantrum. And I'm not saying that to minimize it. I'm saying that that's really what it is. It's a person who had to work their ass off to make that thing happen, and now they're punishing everybody who made it so fucking difficult. That I just gave y'all the sauce. But when it becomes people centric, it's not about roles. It's not about titles. It's about how does our functions contribute to helping other people. And nobody, so when a person has a responsibility, that's what they have. They have responsibility for their function, not necessarily responsibility over other people. So we're not about creating new ladders. We're about longer tables. Our metric for success isn't how one person rises, but how far we all move forward together. It's humans over hierarchy. And that means nobody gets dehumanized to protect the structure, to protect a role, or to protect an agenda. The question that we keep asking is simple. Does this decision make us more human or less? If the answer is less, it's not our way. It's not our way. Like, I personally, just me, like, I don't care what excuse you have for dehumanizing others. I've already come to the conclusion for me, like, I'll give you grace to be there. I'm not going to be there with you because I already know if you will accept an excuse, any excuse will do. So I've determined not to accept any excuse to dehumanize someone else. I don't need to. And then lastly, people-centric. This life matters most, you know. People coming from religious ways of life, and there are even some cultural ways of life. And then some people have just even got over infatuated with nihilism, you know, can end up has a way of making you put your life on layaway. You know, you just endure the pain, you know, either hope for a payoff or relief later. And you're told your joy, your questions, even your justice will come on the other side. And meanwhile, the presence is wasted, you know, because we're not doing anything about it now. Life affirming means we choose practices, policies, priorities, activities, events that honors the lived experience. And we try to figure out what that means for different people. You know, someone asked me a while back, what did I think about? Because I think I think October is, I may not have the month right, but suicide prevention. And my thoughts on this may shock some of you. So please just know these are my thoughts, and my thoughts are not the reflection of your thoughts. There you go. So, but I was like, I'm not comfortable with the term suicide prevention. You know, I get it. I said, I'm not comfortable, you know, of taking people's right to opt out. I find it unfortunate. I don't want it to happen. But I think if we're approaching it from the vantage point of suicide prevention, we're missing the problem. So so for me, my focus wouldn't be suicide prevention. It would be life improvement. You know, I can't stop people from wanting to leave the party early, but maybe there's something we can do to make the party a better experience where people don't want to leave. You know, that's the way I think about it. It's September now. Thank you so much for that. Thank you. And so it's those type of things. You know, when I think of being people-centric and life affirming, it's wanting to be in that place where the goal is, I don't want to cross anybody else's boundaries. I don't want to violate anybody else's decision. You know, it's because I'm very against that. If I was you, but I'm not you. I didn't live through what you lived through. I don't have those memories. I don't have that trauma. So I don't know how hard it is for you to wake up every day. I would love for you to stick around so we can find out, you know? So sorry, but you can't fix a system that you won't question, you know? And I get that. And that's why we're doing a good job from secular community. Man, secular community is killing it with deconstruction. Oh my goodness, we're helping people deconstruct so well. They're doing it so good. I want to make a Trump impression here, but they're, you know, we're doing a great job with deconstruction. The place that I'm trying to put my focus is reconstruction. It's reconstruction. Yeah, we've helped people tear down those attachments, because that's really what you're deconstructing. You're deconstructing your attachment to these false ideologies. But now we got to help people deprogram and reprogram and reconstruct so that now they can build a life that means something for them and that makes them less susceptible to cult ideology. You know? The destination can't be just the demolition phase, you know? So we done knocked down the building. Now what? We've knocked it down. Now what? That's often what bothers me with many of my more causal focused people is that they haven't studied revolutionary movements, and it becomes clear. It becomes clear you're not doing anything that any revolutionary folk ever did. You have not learned from their lessons. Nope. This isn't revolutionary. This is reactionary. Nowhere in your plan is what you're going to build and how you're going to do it. The real work is reconstruction, building something that outlives the critique, crafting spaces where our children don't just inherit our questions, but also inherit new possibilities. That's the bridge to better. It's not a monument we arrive at, it's a movement we walk together, step by step, conversation by conversation, connection by connection. We deconstruct what dehumanizes, we reconstruct what dignifies. And in that cycle, we keep crossing into something better, not just for ourselves, but for everybody connected. Family, what we've been circling around today is simple but powerful. Bad connections distort our lives, but better connections can transform them. Progressive thinking keeps us moving instead of calcifying. People-centric living reminds us that no role, no ladder, no system is worth more than a single human being. Life affirming choices root us in the present because this life is the one we know we have. And the bridge to better calls us to move beyond tearing down and moving into building up together, not just for a moment, but perpetually moving forward, crossing one plateau to the next plateau. In the Black churches, we used to say from glory to glory to glory, moving forward. Damn, I had an altar call song planned. I can hear it in my head. That's funny. So that's what makes Bridge City different. We're not here to hand you a script or recite a dogma to defend. We're here to practice being more human with each other and for each other. We're here to show that community without superstition isn't just possible, it's powerful. And the truth is, the world doesn't change because we shout louder. It changes because we connect deeper, one repaired signal at a time, one stronger bridge at a time, one gathering like this at a time. So when you leave today, don't just take notes, take the mission, carry it into your conversations, your friendships, your families. Let's prove by the way that we live that connection itself is revolutionary. And that's all I have for today. Thank you for joining Sunday Sessions today. We were so glad to have you with us. I hope this conversation has cultivated both insight and inspiration for you and your journey. Please connect with someone before leaving because your relationships are the strength of this movement and community. Let's keep showing the world that we can provide inspiration, motivation, support, and transformation without superstition or coercion. Also, join us next week for Did You Get My Message, where we're going to be focusing on clarity and confirmation. You can explore the links in the description to find ways to connect, including joining BC Global by enrolling in BC 101, joining my email list to stay updated on what I'm doing with DLBD World Group, or of course, financially supporting the channel, the content community, or the creator through Patreon, YouTube, PayPal, CashApp, Venmo, or purchasing something from Window Shop. If you want to support, we're doing our best to make it easy for you. Also, make sure if you're looking to be a part of our community in Southern California, check out the registration. We have an incredible event going on out there. And even if you're not in California, still consider flying out. We have an event going on that Saturday and that Sunday called Rise, and you're not going to want to miss it. And for those of you who are local to the area and who want to be a part of a Bridge City Global community, we're doing some team training that Friday, and then we're going to do a Sunday session together that Sunday. So I am definitely looking forward to that. Well, that's all for today, folks. I sincerely hope you enjoy the rest of your day. And until next time, keep rising and be the bridge.